agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
And I am Sincerity. A pleasant welcome to Focus on Liberia. This is the hour of politics, of course. Here at the hour of politics, we are into conducting interviews and doing analysis on issues happening in our dear country, Liberia. I can't welcome you enough to this edition of the show. Please do us that usual favor by sharing the broadcast with somebody in your contact. The focus remains the nation's Liberia. We have a new government, and that government has started work. And we have been paying attention to the work the government has started. And, you know, we all want our government to succeed. And so it is with that spirit, and it is with that attitude, we as a media institution never hesitate to come with the issues that are happening and presenting them to you for your own understanding. And when necessary for you to disagree with us, especially here at the hour of politics, where we do more of political analysis. President Joseph Boakai commands the nation's Liberia as its chief executive. And finally, at long last, President Boakai has issued an executive order. I and many other Liberians feel that the president who came to rescue the country needed to start with executive orders to start hitting the ground running and shaking tables. And so we have been looking for an executive order or executive orders to hit the ground running right away, because this is a rescue operation. At long last, can we say the president has listened? Well, we will wait to see. But the fact is, President Boakai now has issued an executive order. You know, I wanted to say his first executive order. To the best of my memory, this must be the first executive order. If I'm mistaken, well, then I apologize. But we have an executive order issued by President Joseph Boakai Sr., and the executive order is executive order numbered 126. That's executive order 126. The executive order 126 is establishing an office for asset recovery. An office of assets recovery is what the executive order is set to do. And there are responsibilities of mandates given to this particular office to go all out to not only recover assets, but to investigate. They're talking about suspicious and stolen assets, both fixed and liquid assets. By liquid assets, they're talking money. And by fixed assets, they're talking about properties acquired as a result of stolen wealth that people are able to see physically with the naked eyes. In science, we will say. And so I cannot welcome you enough to this presentation on President Boakai's first executive order titled Executive Order number 126, establishing the Office of Assets Recovery. So our topic that we are here to analyze is President Boakai's first executive order number 126, Office of Asset Recovery. The President executive order is clear and the language are straightforward. What we want to know is this new? Is this something we can trust? Or is this one of those fancy words that politicians will put together to make our people happy, just to realize at the end of the day, it is just another talk? Liberian will say another tautology. But again, will the executive order have teeth? Is the executive order even duplicating functions anyway? Is the executive order going to create conflicts of responsibilities and duties? Because, mind you, we have institutions in Liberia that are clothed with the responsibilities by law to carry on all these mandates, all these responsibilities that's being given to the task force named Assets Recovery or Office of Assets Recovery. So let's go to the executive order and read a few lines here so that you can get to know what the president is talking about. Executive Order number 126, establishment of the Office of Assets Recovery. It reads, whereas assets that were illegally and wrongfully acquired at the expense of the government and people of Liberia have served to enrich certain current and past government officials who have acted with impunity and affront to the country and their fellow citizens. Whereas it is the responsibility of all public officials to declare their assets upon entry into public service and upon exit therefrom in the interest of transparency and in keeping with established law in order to give account of their stewardship while in public office and in order to avoid corruption and illegal acquisition of assets. It continues, whereas it is paramount that public assets that were illegally obtained and converted to private use to be retrieved and returned to Liberian people and the perpetrators be brought to justice in accordance with appropriate laws that provide for the confiscation through criminal investigation and legal prosecution. And whereas, in order to put into place the required legal framework for the recovery of all assets wrongfully acquired by current enforcement government officials and employees of the Liberian government in order to appropriately and robustly curtail this alarming menace that has engulfed our country and addressed the situation of converting public fixed and liquid assets to private use by officials placed in positions of trust. The government of Liberia has decided to establish a task force of assets recovery within the office of the Minister of State for Special Services that will have the legal authority and mandate to retrieve all wrongfully acquired government assets. It continues, whereas the task force shall consist of a chair and co-chair and shall have the full cooperation of the General Services Agency, the Ministry of Justice, and all security agencies. It continues, whereas the asset recovery task force shall also retrieve assets from private individuals who have illegally purchased government assets. It continues, whereas given the gravity of this situation and the need to immediately restore lost assets in order to ensure economic viability and development, it is imperative, it continues, to issue this executive order that cannot await the lengthy legislative process that may derail the process of asset restoration. Now, therefore, I, Joseph Yeman Boakai, President of the Republic of Liberia, hereby issue the Executive Order 126 with an intent to immediately take steps to retrieve, recover, and restore and reinstate our fixed and liquid assets from within and out of our borders that have been converted to private use by government officials and individuals that were placed in positions of trust. It continues, the task force has the following The task force has the following mandate: identify and trace all of Liberia's stolen and suspicious assets within and out of the borders of Liberia, constitute investigative panel to probe into Liberia's stolen and suspicious assets, constitute an effective and robust legal research and investigative team to procure and prepare tangible evidence, initiates immediate criminal prosecution and civil litigation where applicable on behalf of the government of Liberia. Long, and it continues, the executive order shall take effect. And it continues by saying, giving honor my hand and seal this 5th day of March, AD 2024. Joseph Yemam Boakai Senior, President of the Republic of Liberia. And so, folks, there you have it. That is the executive order from the President of the Republic of Liberia, Mr. Joseph Yemam Boakai. So Mr. Boakai has issued an executive order. And as you heard me reading there as fast as I could, the language is very strong. There are so many expectations being built into the executive order for this task force, as they describe it, to carry out. And this task force is creating an office of asset recovery at the Ministry of State for Presidential Affairs, but specifically in the Special Services Division. Now I have questions to analyze this. So this assets recovery team now, the task force, supposed to investigate. This task force is also supposed to gather evidence. This task force is also given the mandate to go ahead and recover stolen assets, both liquid, meaning cash, money in accounts and somewhere, and fixed access, talking about property acquired as a result of abusing public trust and using the money to acquire any such property by those individuals who are suspicious of engaging in such acts. The question is, do we not have institutions established by our laws, clothed with these mandates and responsibilities to execute these functions on behalf of the Liberian people and the Liberian government? Do we not have institutions like that? Now, legal minds are telling us we do have institutions like that. For example, the LACC. The LACC has that mandate to investigate. It has that mandate to look at the abuse of public trust. Now, the LACC, they are creating it, has in there something they call the ombudsman. The ombudsman is an individual who will be clothed with the authority to investigate individuals suspicious of abusing public trust, and where found guilty, all right, will make sure that those individuals are held accountable by facing the full weight of the law. We have that institution. The legal minds are saying the president could just appoint the ombudsman at the LACC to take on the responsibility. That is an arm of government created by the head of national legislature, clothed with this responsibility and tasked to go after individuals who have abused public trust. And so, for the argument to be made in this particular executive order that they want to cut through the tedious legislative process that will delay and not make the process speedier, I'm not sure how that is different from the responsibility assigned to the ombudsman within the act created, the LACC. The ombudsman has that responsibilities. The ombudsman would not have to go through all these legislative processes to investigate after gathering the necessary evidence against any individual, to indict that individual and take that individual to court. And when the person is found guilty, the court will issue a ruling, and that ruling will arm that ombudsman to now go into assess, recovery, or restitution. Is this task force now not even jumping far ahead? You must first do gathering of evidence. You must do your background investigation. You must have gotten sufficient evidence before even going into indictment and even talking about assets, recovery, and restitution, which is the final step. But as we read this executive order, first of all, they are taking on responsibilities legally assigned and given to existing institutions to carry it out. For example, we have the Ministry of Justice, which is the government arm that enforces our law and that prosecutes individuals who abuse public trust in the Republic of Liberia. The Attorney General, which is the Minister of Justice, he is the government lawyer who should take people to court and hold people accountable who abuse public trust. We have the Ministry of Justice can do that. In addition to the Ministry of Justice, I mentioned earlier, the LACC that has those rights and those mandates and those responsibilities. They are in the budget, for Christ's sake. Money being allocated to this Ministry of Justice to carry on these functions. Money also allotted to the LACC to carry on this responsibility. Now, the FIU, the Financial Intelligence Unit, is another institution that can gather sufficient evidence whenever it sees or notices any suspicion of any individual abusing public trust and amassing wealth at the detriment, at the displeasure, and the satisfaction of the masses of the country. So we have so many institutions who can carry on this job. Issuing an executive order to create a task force, and that task force taking away the responsibilities of other agencies of government that have been funded already to carry on these tasks. When we don't already have money, because in the executive order, somewhere it reads, and I'm going to read that part for you quickly, the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning shall with immediate effect allocate and disburse funding based on the budget presented for the full implementation of the exercise. So you see, they are telling you the finance ministry must get ready. By the time the task will submit a budget, the finance ministry must disburse money immediately so that the task force will carry on its work. Don't we have the LACC being funded to carry on this task? Don't we have the Ministry of Justice funded to carry on this task? And they are even talking about this task force you go and investigate. They're talking about, even engaging into civil litigation. That is the role of the Ministry of Justice. Prosecution is the role of the Ministry of Justice. They are even talking about investigation. The Ministry of Justice investigates. The LACC also has that investigative power to investigate when it smells, it sees, or notices the abuse of power. It also more like talking about audit. We have the General Services, the General Auditing Commission. We have the Internal Audit Agency. This institution can carry on audits. So the next question I ask is this new? Have we seen this before? If we have seen something like this before, did it succeed or did it fail? If it failed, why did it fail? Now, let me remind you quickly that this whole issue of setting aside a task force to investigate and go into recovering assets allegedly stolen by government officials was done by the then president of the Republic of Liberia, President George Manawia, or former President George Manawia. President George Manawia at some point constituted a committee or a task force, and that task force was called ARIET. It was Assets Investigation, Recovery, and Restitution. This task force was headed by Councillor Arthur Johnson and former Solicitor General of Liberia, Sima Serena Cephas. The two individuals were the leaders of this particular ARIET. And this was a task force constituted by President Weah, and the task force supposed to go all out to investigate and recover stolen wealth. According to the task force, based on audit reports from the General Auditing Commission and the Internal Auditing Agency or Audit Agency, there was reason to believe that 4.6 billion United States dollars was stolen allegedly or in question and taken by past government officials. Hello? 4.6 billion was in question, allegedly stolen through the abuse of public trust by former government officials. And they came to the figure based on audit report from the General Auditing Commission and the IAA, the Internal Auditing Agency. So they had believed that there was some 4.6 billion sitting somewhere either in liquid cash or properties acquired by individuals who had engaged into those acts of corruption. And so they said they were going all out to not only investigate, but to also recover, restitute, and also ensure the prosecution of those individuals allegedly who were involved in such act. This task force was ambitious. They went all out and they said that they needed outside help. And before I come to that point, let me remind you, President Boakai is on record for saying there will be an audit of the past regime. And that the audit will not be a Liberian audit, that international firm will be brought in to do so. Now, the president is yet to act on that promise. The president issues an executive order now talking about a task force creating this Office of Asset Recovery under the Ministry of Presidential Affairs / under Special Services. Hello? So the first promise is yet to get to that. And now this executive order establishing another bureaucratic process. When will we get to the first promise? Are they working out the modalities? What that promise the president made supposed to be like? How it's supposed to be like? Or just audit and not assets recovery? I'm just trying to understand. There was a big promise made. Because you must audit. Audits must establish suspicion or reason establishing wrongdoing, and then investigation, and then one is found guilty, and then now you can go to assets recovery. So we have institutions responsible to carry on audit, but the president said, whoa, you forget the institution. We will bring international firm to do that. Now, the reason I bring that point in is to remind you that the tax force called Ariat that was set up by President Weah said to us that they had sought outside help. And the outside help that they sought at that time was from a firm called Grant Thornton International. Now, what is Grant Thornton International? Grant Thornton International is a global network that is an independent firm that provide professional services, basically in the area of assurance services, investigating assets. They provide specialized advisory services and management consulting services, especially in the area of investigation of financial malpractices and wrongdoing. This institution is headquartered in Finsbury Square in London. That is the Great Britain or the UK. Also, it has offices across the globe. It has several offices in the United States and in most states within the United States. In the state of Minnesota, California, North Carolina. Grant Thornton is the world's 7th largest by revenue and 6th largest by number of employees. And in fact, it has up to 66,000 employees. In terms of financial standing, talking about revenue, this particular firm in 2002, based on reports, was valued at 7.2 billion United States dollars. So this is a monumental firm, financially strong. Now, Arthur Johnson and Serena Safos impressed on us at the time that they had talked to this international firm. And by the way, this firm won several awards. For example, in 2018 and 2019, this firm won a global award for excellent services provided across the globe. So, Arthur Johnson and Serena Safos, that is the ARIA team, they had a press conference at the Ministry of Information. And they said that they were embarking on the mandate given to them by President Weah to investigate, seek restitution and recovery of over 4.6 billion missing assets. According to them, those assets were allegedly embezzled, their own words, from state coffers. They allege that the money, that they're talking about, they came to that figures based on audit report from the General Auditing Commission and the Anti-Corruption Commission. Johnson then disclosed that the team was in fact drafting a bill, and that bill was to be presented to the national legislature for the establishment of what at the time they call an economic and corruption crimes court in Liberia to fast-track corruption cases in the recovery of the 4.6 billion United States dollars. Why am I telling you all this? These individuals that I named are Liberians. They were charged with this huge responsibility to not only investigate, but to go as far as recommending prosecution, restitution, and the recovery of, according to them, 4.6 billion United States dollars embezzled, according to them, by government officials. And they had talked to this Grant Thornton a company that is so rich and sits on a liquid asset of 7 billion United States dollars. According to Arthur Johnson during that press conference, that company has sent a team to Liberia, and that the team had met President Weah at the time, and that they were ready to start work in no time. They have money. So the government of Liberia did not actually have to pay them for them to even start. They have experienced lawyers. They have 68,000 employees across the world. And they were even prepared to train Liberian lawyers working for the government to help with the fight in Liberia concerning corruption, to ensure that the $4.6 billion will be recovered. They didn't stop there. They submitted a budget of $2.5 million to the Liberian government to arm them with the resources they will need to carry on the task of recovering the $4.6 billion. Few months later, fellow Liberians, this task force that was constituted by then President Weah, in no time became a toothless bulldog. Arthur Johnson, who has said that they have contracted a firm to help them do this work, and that this firm have met the president of Liberia, and the president of Liberia, who constituted our task force, had committed to working with this firm and his team to carry on the tasks. That Arthur Johnson came to us and said, the government of Liberia then, under President Weah, was not serious about the fight against corruption. Arthur Johnson resigned his post. The reasons are unknown to us other than his words that the government of Liberia then, which is the President Weah administration, was not serious about the fight against corruption. It died a natural death. I'm saying to you in short, we have seen this kind of movie before. And so before you celebrate, for those who are already celebrating, upon the announcement of the executive order that is duplicating functions, if functions are statutory and constitutional functions assigned to establish institutions through acts of national legislature to carry on these responsibilities, the president is duplicating these functions and putting together a task force to carry on the work that should be done by either the FIU, the General Auditing Commission, and the LACC. Now, Liberia is a broke nation. Our government struggles to pay salaries. Our government struggles to find money to build roads. This president is looking for money to achieve his campaign promise that in 100 days, no car will get stuck in the mud. We are about past 35 days now. We don't know where that promise is or where the president is with that promise. If the president will not achieve this, one of the main reasons would be because of money. So how this president now uses the little resources will be a smart way of achieving the things that he promised. So why now appoint the ombudsman? So that the office of the ombudsman can take on these responsibilities. Is it that impossible? What is delaying the president from appointing the ombudsman to carry on these responsibilities? And by law, the institution that houses the ombudsman is being funded So you don't have to go to finance ministry to ask for extra money that you don't already have. Now, we have the General Auditing Commission to carry on the audits. Some of the audits are already done. You have the Ministry of Justice that can carry on the civil litigation aspect of this thing, the investigative aspect of this thing. You also have the Financial Intelligence Unit that will gather all the financial, intelligent information, because according to the executive order, their group supposed to go all out and gather the necessary evidence against these alleged individuals who have abused public trust. You have the Financial Intelligence Unit to give you that information. That arm of government is funded. So why are you looking for additional money that you don't already have, duplicating functions, and creating additional bureaucracy for yourself? Mind you now, you promised us an audit that will be done by an international firm. That will require money. That will require planning. That will require time. You are yet to get to that. They made your promise. And now you resort to an executive order. Look, folks, here we provide the education and analysis so succinctly and so bluntly with no ambiguity. Clear, concise, to the point, and in the interest of Liberia, advising our leaders to look at things in a very sensible way. Did the office of the president ask whether or not the LACC is incapable of carrying on this mandate? Is the Ministry of Justice incapable of carrying on this mandate? Or is it that no institution of government being funded today not capable of carrying on these mandates? I think we do have institutions clothed with the constitutional responsibilities to carry on these responsibilities on behalf of the Liberian government, and these institutions are funded anyway. So why should we duplicate and look for money we don't already have? I would say this looks like what we have on President William. Created this Ariat, headed by an Arthur Johnson and Serena Cephas. And another thing is, the executive order is saying there will be a chairman and co-chairman. Why not nominate or appoint this individual right away? Why are you wasting all this time? Why are you wasting all this time? So you introduce to us the executive order. We don't know the individuals who are going to head it. You're taking all the time now to figure out, do we have all the time to waste? So much time being wasted already. So now I'm curious. Maybe we should give it to the president to do the due diligence to tap the individuals. Really, though. The office of the ombudsman was created by an act of national legislature a few years ago. President Boakai is in full knowledge. President Boakai is talking about audit, prosecution of individuals. And he reneged to this day to find a credible Liberian to occupy the office of the ombudsman. He's yet to fill that. Now he created another bureaucratic platform, and now he will take all the time again to find individual. This time he has to find two persons. I think the ombudsman are one person, and it's taking him this long. So the question is, how serious, how sincere, what is the urgency in the president with this fight against corruption? International firm will carry on the audit. That firm is yet to be contracted. The ombudsman created by law, who should be responsible to investigate where there is the abuse of public trust, that person is yet to be appointed. President Weah is appointing some individuals like Man Jabate to fill a position as Assistant Minister at Ministry of Internal Affairs. What is the urgency with that? President ran on the rule of law. The president is projecting himself that he will be the man who will audit the previous administration. So why don't you take steps to show that you are sincere about this pronouncement? What are we going to get from Majabate? What are we going to get from Noasdale Gibson? What are we actually going to get from appointing board of directors at these, public cooperation right now? These public corporations can operate. In fact, the administrative day-to-day running of the corporations, the board of directors have no role to play in the day-to-day running of these institutions. Some of them just have regular monthly board meeting, and that's what it is. But the president saw the need to do so when he campaigned on audit and the fight against corruption. And here is the low-hanging fruit, the office of the ombudsman, that the president has that authority to appoint. He delays and creates another bureaucratic platform. Now he has to appoint 2 persons. How sure are we that the president will find those 2 persons? Because he's trying to suggest to us here now that there is an urgency. There must be an urgency. But is the president acting in the spirit and the necessity of that urgency? I'm yet to see that. So why even announce this now? You are announcing asset recovery. Basically, this is what you're doing. All that's been done by GSE and IH, and LNCC is also has done some audits. The audits have implicated some individuals. Those individuals in questions are right here. They are known based on the audit reports. Have you done further work on those audits? This individual who are suspected. So let me give you a scenario for you to understand it, to make the team more concise here. The U.S. government has placed sanctions on many or few Liberian government officials. For example, Nathaniel Mange, Betwewe, and many others. The U.S. government put sanctions on the individuals. The U.S. government did not just announce that we put in sanctions on these individuals. When the U.S. government has suspicion that the individuals were engaged in what they call significant corruption, they started working on these individuals, following their activities. And when the U.S. government had gathered significant information on these individuals of financial malpractices, which they consider as significant corruption, the U.S. government came and slammed them with corruption. Samuel Twe is one of such persons who cannot even travel. This very Sereno Sifos, who was the guy to recover assets on our behalf, was slammed with a travel ban, sanction, and all that. The point is, you announce this thing now. Individuals believed to have engaged in this act. Now they are doing their homework to see how they can get away with what you are alleging they have engaged in. Is that a prudent way to do it? Another example is Stepton Witherspoon is a criminal, according to the U.S. government, who sold fake degrees and acquired around 111 million United States dollars. Before the U.S. government could indict him, I believe between 2003, 2002, the U.S. government started investigating him as far back as 2018, years before his indictment, before sending him to court, and then he pleaded guilty and then sought for a deal. And now he's awaiting jail term, to be sentenced. Sentences as well as remaining. He's been buying time. So you are now saying that you're going to go after people to recover stolen assets, and you not even announce the individual who's going to be doing the work. I don't know what level of work has been done. Who are the individuals who have been identified to have engaged in this significant corruption or these alleged corruption that you're talking about? Do you have the facts now? You're announcing that, oh, this is what I'm coming to do. I'm coming to go after corrupt people who stole money. We'll go after them. We gather evidence. We'll take them to court. And then when they are guilty, and then we'll take the money from them, or we'll take the property from them, because in the executive order, they are talking about confiscation of fixed assets from these individuals. Seriously? Why can't you do your homework and come to act? This is a bluff in my position, in my opinion. And I don't know how far this is going to go. And now the government has made a big deal out of this now. We here will be holding the government feet to the fire. We will be expecting our government to deliver on this big talk. This is an executive order. It must be enforced timely and expedient manner. We don't want no excuses, because you are giving all the impression, even though some are not impressed, that you've done your homework before coming out. When the U.S. government came out against Stanton, the U.S. government had got sufficient evidence against him. And then they indicted him, and they knew that they had gotten him by the balls. And we have reasons to believe also that when the U.S. government came with a sanction on Prince Johnson, the U.S. has done significant work. That this man was involved in political, vote trading. When the U.S. government came against Vanny Sherman, it has significant evidence against him. Some of his property were confiscated in no time. Nathaniel Mangel, they have significant information on him. Bear 12, the issue with the port in Buchanan, all those things that they were engaged in, the U.S. government had those information, and so they came and acted. So what is the level of work that has been done before even announcing this thing? This is similar to a political slogan intended to make policy happy, intended to make supporters happy, to give us this false impression that the government is up to the task. This is short of the movie we saw on President Weah with Arthur Johnson and Simon Serena Seaforth talking big talk that they were going to recover 4.6 billion United States dollars, and that they had contracted an international firm valued at $7 billion that was coming to train Liberian lawyers who will help with the fight, and that they had President Weah commitment. This is it. This is how it looks. It's similar to that movie. And that Harriet on we have failed. Arthur Johnson will come on to say, well, the Liberian government is not serious. If our current government is serious, let our current government allow our institutions. Some of these institutions, I think all of them, no, not all of them, some of these institutions were created by the United Party government. The LACC, for example, the United Party government created that LACC. All right? And so I'm not sure of the Financial Intelligence Unit. I'm tempted to say maybe the United Party government might have brought that, because prior to the United Party administration, I did not hear about the FIU. I'm not more knowledgeable on that when it was created. But for some reason, I want to believe that it was created during the the administration of the United Party government, the Financial Intelligence Unit. I know for sure that the LACC was created by the United Party. And the United Party was right to have created as agency to fight corruption, go after people who abuse public trust, take them to court, and when they are guilty, they should not only restitute government funds, both liquid and fixed assets they're talking about should be restored and given back to the Liberian people. So why are you duplicating functions? What would the Ministry of Justice do now? What would the LACC do now? What would the Financial Intelligence Unit do now? Are you putting all of these institutions under this task force now? Or, like you said, this will be under the Ministry of Presidential Affairs, Special Services. So now the Ministry of Presidential Affairs now has their own little quasi-court. Another thing that they, LACC, they created almost like a 7-man, commissioners there. And almost like now, you have a little legislative body, or you almost have a little Supreme Court bench now. They have to be debating. This one agrees, this one disagrees before they even move. And that is why the office of the ombudsman will cut all that off, but the president delays. He rushes to a task force that is duplicating and taking away functions assigned to statutory institutions created by law under our constitution to carry on these functions. And that is supposed to be something that impresses you. And this is supposed to succeed. So that actor jumps in. I will go back to history again. You know, history is a beautiful thing. That actor jumps in during that time, make another big talk. Our people, they are interesting. Let me bring that piece to you. In that, Arthur Johnson, they are reared of then President we are now, said that it was investigating expenditures at the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. And according to their investigation, according to them, that was ongoing at the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. They said that there were several expenditures made by the government of Liberia up to 2018 that amounts to US 500 million and more than 1 billion Liberian dollars. Let me bring that to you clearly. Maybe you didn't hear me. The arrears at the time, it was similar thing created by President Weah. They said there were checks in a total amount of 500 million United States dollars. And not equivalent, but and another checks in an amount of 1 billion Liberian dollars that were questionable. According to them, those checks were issued by the Ministry of Finance. It's the Ministry of Finance that created own checks when the Central Bank of Liberia should be issuing all government checks at the time. And to them, those things were questionable. And so they were conducting an investigation. And again, the amounts in question or amounts in questions were 500 United States, 5 million. No, 500 million. I got that right now. 500 million United States dollars and 1 billion Liberian dollars were in question, unquote, by Ariet. According to them, those transactions, most of the transactions were made during the time of then Finance Minister Amara Kone, who is today the senator of Bapulu County. Hello. Interesting stuff. And the Arthur Johnson man said the investigation, he said, our investigations have established that the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning printed its own checks instead of the Central Bank of Liberia check, which is the legitimate check that is to be issued by line ministries and agencies. You get that? He went on that Area acknowledged former Finance Minister Americana to talk to a criminal lawyer who will educate him on how to proceed with the allegation leveled against him by the government of Liberia. He was being a little diplomatic there. He was trying to say, let Americana get ready to go to court. Let him find a lawyer, because during his time as finance minister, 500 million, $500 million United States dollars is in question here. That under his stewardship, the Ministry of Finance were issuing their own checks for ministries and agencies, when in fact it should be the Central Bank of Liberia that should be issuing checks to ministries and agencies for expenditure. And that the Finance Ministry has also issued checks in the tune of $1 billion Liberian dollars. Its own checks, and not the official check of the Republic of Liberia issued by the Central Bank of Liberia. And that they were having investigations going on, and Americana should be prepared to go to court. Arthur Johnson, the arrears, similar platform or task force being put together by now President Boakai today was put together. It failed miserably. I have my own suspicions. Our leaders joke with the fight against corruption. They don't have the fortitude. They don't have the tenacity. They don't have the wherewithal. They don't have the balls. They don't have the courage to do what is right, especially when it comes to the fight against corruption. Didn't we see investigation that brought in the son of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf? Did we not have investigation that established that this man has several thousands of United States dollars and millions of Liberian dollars in his accounts in Liberia? That man is a free man today in Liberia. Free man. And he is in possession of his wealth. And so I conclude. If this president, this administration is serious about the fight against corruption, if it is serious about the executive order, that it will not only gather evidence, and that it will also go as far as investigating, what a joke, investigating, and go as far as recovering assets. Let them go and ask the previous administration, how come they fail so miserably? And if this government is serious now, I would suggest the president should start with the Ministry of Presidential Affairs from the executive branch of government. Let that ministry be audited first. Let the president immediately start with the audit of the inaugural committee that disgrace our nation. They have money and there's no accountability whatsoever. Let the president also start with his own party that took some of the money intended for district to celebrate and use it for its own purpose. Can the president start from there? Let the president also start, because he's talking about transparency here. Let the president also start by making his assets public. Let us see what he has. We want to see his assets and liability. President Boakai declared his assets, but he did not show it to us. We don't know what he owes. We don't know what he owns. That is a lack of transparency. We don't know what the president has right now. President, we are disseminating, and the president said he was going to govern differently. We are declaring his assets 7 months into his administration, and we never saw it. President, we have declared his assets in violation few weeks later, and then we have not seen it. We are asking the president, if he's serious about the fight against corruption, if he's serious about transparency and accountability, let him release to us what he has or what he owns and owes. Let him publish his assets. Let us see it. It shouldn't be a secret. And now he is telling others to declare their assets when we don't know what he actually declared. What we don't see, we don't know. So I don't know whether the president declares assets. I don't know. How am I supposed to know? Just because he shows up to the office and he presented an envelope, and we supposed to now go through the tedious process of trying to see what he, and what is the point of even hiding it? What is the point? Hiding it for what? You expect transparency in your government and you hiding your assets, things that you own legally, we should believe, and you hiding it? So where's the transparency? Where are the standards that have been set now for accountability? When your assets now should be secret. You're the president, and now you are going after other people's assets. So this whole executive order, we need executive orders from our leaders. Executive orders are meaningful. Executive orders can bring about relief, especially when they are realistic, authentic, and implemented fully. When they are sensible, they can bring about relief. We welcome the fight against corruption that this government is telling us is serious about. Where is John Molu, the guy who was blowing the trumpet of audit, assets recovery, asset restitution, and erecting checkpoints for people who abuse public trust? He was on the Boakai's team. He raised money. The office of the ombudsman, we need someone. Where is he? Or maybe he's going to be appointed to this office of assets recovery. They must have a chairman and co-chairman. There are qualified librarians out there. This is an executive order now. We hope the president succeeds with this executive order. We welcome the executive order, but we think the executive order is duplicating functions. The office of the ombudsman can carry on all of these things laid down in this executive order. That office has been funded. Creating another bureaucratic process is more like a show. This is a show. This is a movie. We watched the movie on Awia. We watched similar movie on Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. They announced investigation, and that's the end. That can be the end. We are yet to get the audit report from the inaugural committee. We are yet. I think the other day I saw Chairman Tapper talking about they have the audit report now about the money they took from the people's money to celebrate. I've been looking around to see that audit report and read it so we can look into it, what is actually there. But I saw him talking, instead of the report speaking, he was speaking for himself. They tried to drag my name in the morning and also and all that. But that very Chairman Tapper, we saw him at NASCAR. He and others had gone there, and were engaging in unusual hostile takeover over there. I mean, what kind of business is this? And so, folks, we can't bring the education to you in a meaningful way enough. We want to say thank you, and thank you so much for following Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Fun thing we want to leave with you here is that few days ago now, there was a video that was leaked to the public, and in that video, Alan White, who has been, advocating for war crimes courts in Liberia or for Liberia, was in that video, and in that video was also our president Joseph Boakai. The video had looked as though these two individuals were in separate places. I don't know how that person put the video together, And so it had appeared that way. So we here at Focus on Liberia were very skeptical if actually the two individuals met or they were on the phone and any such conversation took place. So we have been investigating to be able to confirm that, yes, this might be a possibility that Allen Ware actually met President Boakai, and President Boakai made further commitment to the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia. Now we have obtained this photograph, and this photograph is like confirming what we saw in the video that we also share with our followers, and we, issue a caveat that we could not independently verify and confirm the authenticity of that particular video. All right, but now we have this picture, and as you can see in this picture here, there is Allen Ware and there is President Boakai. And in the video, this shirt that President Boakai has on right now in this picture, it was the very shirt he had on when he was speaking in that particular video. Allen Ware too was in a very coat and that very necktie. So I Focus on Liberia, we have reason now to believe that they actually might have met and actually had that conversation in which President Boakai made further commitment for the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court. And talking about that, we have a resolution now at the lower house. 40 lawmakers sign on to that resolution. That resolution, my understanding, it has passed, and now it should be making a way to the Senate, where the Senate will be able to concur, and then we will have a law creating then that bill now will be sent to the president. The president will affix a signature. Then we'll have a law, establishing the War and Economic Crimes Court. According to the ambassador at large from the United States of America, the U.S. government said is really to provide all the technical and financial support for the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court. President Boakai, with what we've seen so far, Allen White and all that, is he really serious about the War Crimes Code? Is he actually trying to show that he's a man of his own? Prince Johnson supported him. Prince Johnson think that when they say War Crime Code, he's the one he's talking about. He supported President Boakai. President Boakai is following through. And to the credit of the Unity Party, during the campaign, at some point, information leaked from their chat room, and they said that they were going to bring the War and Economic Crimes Court, and that I will make sure that Prince Johnson and others will be prosecuted. Prince Johnson was supporting them. That information leaked from Unity Party's chat room. I remember that very well. I'm like, this might pose a serious problem for them. So, look, I'm a critical guy. I'm critical on our leaders because I want them to do well. I want them to take us serious. I want to see governance as a serious business, and that we have a responsibility to this country. And they who are given that opportunity to serve, well paid, they have cars, they have everything they need. I don't know any group of people who get well paid in the world than officials in Liberia. They get paid very well. So I expect them to deliver. At my job, I deliver. What I'm being paid is not compared to what these lawmakers and presidents being paid. So they must deliver. And it's our responsibility to hold them accountable to deliver for us. That is the way we show our patriotism and love for our country. If we lay by and go and sleep and say, oh, we trust the people, they're going to do it, we are joking. We too, as citizens, have a responsibility. When you elect the people, you push them to do what they were elected for. Don't expect that they will do for you what you think you elected them for. No, you must push them. And that is what I do, And so, if this will come to reality, well, it will be a victory for Joseph Yimam Boakai. It will be a victory, and he will be credited because he is attempting to do this now when he received the endorsement and the support of one of the alleged war laws, Prince Johnson. And it's like he's saying, no, Prince Johnson, I don't care. I'm going ahead with this. Is Boakai being tactical here? And many of you who follow me know that I'm very critical of all our leaders, including President Boakai. And President Boakai does not complain about this. And so that's why sometimes, why are these handlers and supporters of Boakai crying like baby? The old man told us, Boakai that baby. The man is not baby. Boakai is not crying. Boakai said, and I quote, do not only praise me, criticize me. Boakai's own words. So to you, the handlers and supporters of Boakai, why are you crying? The old man told us Boakai that not baby. Boakai said, do not only support me, do not only praise me when I do good, criticize me when I don't do well. We are respecting the words of our president. Our president understands that he must be criticized constructively. And we have been very constructive, even though tough, because governance is a tough business. It's not a joking matter. This is about life and death decision-making process. This is about improving the material conditions of our people, using the little resources that we have. And these resources must be used judiciously so that our people can be uplifted from poverty, so that they can get educated, so that their living standard can improve. That is no joking matter. That is no family business. This is serious stuff. We are far behind our friends. We have become a laughing stock. And some of you believe we're supposed to come here and praise people. When was the last time did you hear the praises shower on President Todman, deliver Liberia from all our woes? Praises shower on Tobert. Praises shower on Doe, Ellen Johnson Sally. Where? If praises could get us there, we would have been there long time ago. But praises don't get us there. Accountability. That is why we are asking our leaders to be accountable, and they must be transparent. And so, folks, this is how we'll come to the end of yet another analytical edition of the Hour of Politics here at Focus on Liberia, where we are about educating, elevating, and promoting all things Liberia. We brought you the topic, President Boakai's first executive order number 126, establishing the Office of Assets Recovery. You heard us, and you heard us well, but the final thing you will hear from us now is the song that says, we are indeed all Liberians. Enjoy the song, and we will see you soon and soon. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye. Enjoy the song, we are all Liberians.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.